All right, what's up, everybody? This is Fly on the Wall podcast with Justin. Today, I've got a guest, Shane Hartline.
Should
Shane?
we do the bit that we've been preparing for some time now? Should I
Yeah,
leave now?
yeah, you should leave now. Thank you for the video and the audio check.
This has
So
been great, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this.
this has been so much fun. So
Okay, we got that out of our system.
I feel so good about it too. All right, so
Solid bit.
I got this to do for a friend. So if you're watching video, this is Donut Punk Apparel. This is Shane. This is his business, and this is the awesome spot that I did for Donut Punk. So one moment. We're proud to have this podcast sponsored by Donut Punk Apparel. If you, like me, are into fun, colorful 90s nostalgic apparel, then you've got to check out Donut Punk at donutpunk.com. I love the shirts. I saw the brand on TikTok, and it's just blowing up there. It seems like everybody there is wearing them. So I ordered one, and now I'm part of the cool kids, and you can be too. There's a new Jurassic Park inspired shirt that just dropped about a week and a half ago, and you've got to check that one out. It's really cool looking, a little bit of a tie-dye effect. And yeah, it's my favorite design so far. So I have to get that shirt too. Donut Punk is nostalgically baked apparel that you can find now at donutpunk.com. One more time, that's donutpunk.com.
Hey guys, come on down to Spirit Halloween.
A little nice button at the end. Man, that was really good. I couldn't have wrote something better myself. Like, that was good.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you for the support, man.
You know, to have somebody actually sponsor the podcast is fantastic. So if you didn't hear me, this is Shane Hartline. He's an actor. You're a screenwriter.
Yeah.
You're a comedian.
I think that, that's funny. All these multi-hyphenates, all in the industry today, I think most people have to be, like this and that and this and that. And, so yeah, it's funny. Like, I'm a little bit of everything, but I think in this industry these days you have to be.
Yeah, you're multifaceted, and I found you on TikTok, which now, from my understanding, that you've got something like 400,000 followers on TikTok.
Yeah, 2 days ago I broke 400,000, which it's bonkers, so ridiculous.
That's insane. What I'm curious about is how did you get your start? What inspired you to get started with either writing or or filming, or what? How did you get started in that?
Yeah, man. I mean, to go way back, I picked up my first video camera when I was 10. My parents, my mom, I think I joke with her, but I think it was also very serious that she realized it was a good babysitter to let me use their video camera and just go off and film skits and little stop motion videos with action figures, whatever. I always, I think it developed before that, when I realized like I could make my grandparents laugh by doing like the Pee-wee dance. And then I was like, oh, I can film myself. And then anytime family friends come over, I can show them what I filmed. And I just loved seeing their reactions. And, that feeling, I think, has always kind of stuck with me. And then it evolved into, doing things for YouTube and pretty much every social media outlet that has come up. I try not to judge any social media outlet and kind of look at it as, it's a stage, it's a virtual stage. It's a virtual TV channel to put out anything I want. And I've had so much opportunity come from not judging these platforms and just putting out my content, putting me out into the world. So that's really where I think, like I said, going way back, that's definitely where I found my love for filmmaking. And
so way back, are you talking like maybe like a teenager, or were you even younger?
I was like 10 years old when I picked up my first video camera.
So yeah. There's a video out there where you responded to yourself. How old were you in that video?
So I shot the first half when I was 10, I think. And then I shot the second half when I was like 26, 27, something like that. And then I didn't put it out. I put it out on YouTube, got like a cool little reaction, nothing crazy, but then it like blew up on TikTok recently, which is, the beauty of TikTok. There's no other better place, in my opinion, for people making content right now. Just because it's the only platform that you could post something and the next day have 1 million views.
It's the only platform I've seen to where you can just be goofy in your house and get attention for it, which honestly, there's people out there that need the attention, especially with the whole COVID thing and being locked down.
I need attention, Justin.
Yes, you need attention. And
no, but I think, you know what TikTok
I think
right
it's been
now
good for so many people.
Yes, absolutely. Especially, and I think the timing of it with the pandemic and everything, but TikTok reminds me of when I started YouTube in the beginning. It was this platform, and you could, if you put out something funny, like, it would usually get a good reaction. But like any platform, it eventually becomes oversaturated, corporate and all this stuff, and it just changes.
It gets too complicated.
Yeah, and it's hard to become like, if you were to say today, like, I want to start a YouTube channel, like, that's a hard thing to try to do.
Well, it's like people that even decide, you decide you're going to stream on Twitch or something. You may just stream to yourself.
Yeah.
For like a couple of years. I've heard of stories, people doing it for 3 or 4 years, and they're like, why are you doing this? And if you're not doing it for yourself, it's really not beneficial. You
got to enjoy it.
Definitely. You've got to enjoy it first. So I mean, so that's good, solid advice for what you're going to do on a platform.
100%. I think so.
So let's fast forward a little bit. So I met you on TikTok and through a mutual friend of ours, and we play games, which is frustrating at times, but that's okay.
It's supposed to be.
But you recently put out a short film that I'd like to talk about.
Yeah.
Called Cookie. And Cookie is about a lady that suffers from is it a neurological disorder, or?
Yeah, it's classified as a neurological condition that it affects people in different ways, but predominantly through their speech. And what's even more difficult with spasmodic dysphonia, it affects each person differently. So there's different types of spasmodic dysphonia. Some people, it kind of tightens and chokes their vocal cords in a sense that when they speak, there's like, it can't get out the words. For me, I have a very mild case of it, fortunately. Still is frustrating to deal with at times. But mine, you can probably hear, it just makes my voice a little breathy at times. So fortunately, I'm still able to speak. And I think through the years, I got it. I've only met one other person. I got it when I was 5 years old. Most people get it in their 50s from what I hear. So It's like doctors are just like, well, you're special, which I like to hear.
My doctors tell me that all the time.
I know. No, so, I think it also, my mild case, because it was very severe when I was younger, but I think through the years of I don't know. I've had people ask me all the time, especially in the SD community, of like, how did you get yours to such a mild case? And I wish I had the answer, but I think
really no answer for it.
There's really no answer. And I think it's a lot of, doing things that scare me and getting more comfortable with them. Like, I'm doing my passion, which is, acting, filmmaking, and would terrify most to audition. And it is a nerve-wracking thing, but the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and it makes other things easier. And I think that SD is triggered by anxiety and that kind of thing. So I think over the years, I've just kind of like mentally started to play tricks with it or beat it a bit. But, to go back to Cookie, yeah, I mean, it was this thing that I felt like not to sound too trippy or whatever words I'm looking for, but I just kind of needed to make Cookie. I needed to get it out of me. I needed to vocalize it and be more public about having this condition, because for my whole life, I was never public. I hated it about myself. And
well, I can tell you from when we first started playing games, I was kind of like, you know, I didn't know anything about you. Like the first couple of games we played, we were playing Halo, by the way. We all lost every time, which is fine. We're cool with it. It's just annoying. But I would hear you speak, and I was like, why? I wonder why his voice drops off like that. And I think it was like a month later, Cookie had come out, and I had watched it. I was like, wow, okay, I get it now. So I wanted to bring that up here, because I know people are going to listen, and there's so many people out there. I had no idea this condition existed.
And that's why I made it too, you know, because, you know, even when I went public a year before Cookie was released, that's the common thing that people would say to me is like, I never knew this about you. I never knew this thing existed. And it's, you know, it's a very rare condition. And, you know, on top of it, it's, you know, this day and age, it's hard to get people to take the time to research things like that. So I knew that making a film would be a really good way to raise awareness, as long as it wasn't like an educational film, you know. But I think that,
well, it was entertaining and it was educational.
I feel
so
like so I feel like we did a comp.
In my
Thanks,
eyes,
man.
You accomplished exactly what needed to be done, because I watched the film. I was like, oh, I get that now. Okay,
awesome. Well, that was our goal, was for it to educate but not feel like an educational film.
Yeah, well, there's I think there's a way to approach certain subjects, and be it like neurological disorders, or people speaking about Down syndrome, or people speaking about, you know, any affliction. You know, it's always better for the audience to be talked to, or to be educated in a visual sense, which is exactly what you did.
And another goal I had with it was I really kind of wanted the viewer to, in a sense, feel what it feels like a bit. You know, I feel like with the character Gabby, I feel like, you know, and it's a common thing that, you know, I have heard from Cookie, and it means a lot to me, that people kind of feel like they're with her the whole time. You know, they're kind of with her on her journey, and, you know, feeling it a bit. And that's kind of what I wanted people to experience.
Well, you did a great job. Where can everybody watch it?
Yeah, we were, you know, fortunate to be acquired by Amaletto, which is a really great platform for short films. So it's at amaletto.com, youtube.com/amaletto. Yeah, so just search Cookie and Amaletto on YouTube, and it'll pop up.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, moving on. You're also known for the baby bodyguard skits.
Yeah, man. It's funny, you know. I think that you know, what's weird with the baby bodyguard things is we shot those, and the first one we shot in like 2017, like years ago. And they existed on my buddy's YouTube and Facebook, and they did really well. But, you know, I had been posting little snippets on TikTok for a year, and then in September, I just was like, one of the things I posted was a snippet from one of those baby bodyguard videos, and it, like I said, overnight, like 1 million views. And I was like, oh my God, this is okay. This is working. I'm just going to keep posting snippets. And I had a lot of snippets to post from all those videos. So my audience on there grew insanely quickly. And I'm still just kind of giving the audience what they want, while, you know, fitting in, or I don't want to say slipping in. That feels very awkward. I just said it. There we go.
Well, now you've said it.
Now I've said it. Great.
It's in the world.
You know, fitting in the things that I also like doing, like characters, impressions, that kind of thing. But I think that that's an important thing on TikTok, is like when something hits for you, like if something connects with an audience, that just keep giving them that thing, while also fitting in other things that you like to do.
Well, I think that's great advice. Do you play any music or anything? Are you a musician?
I know, man. I always wish I would have learned guitar. I guess I still could technically. It's funny. I bought a guitar in 2015 with my tax return money, and I'm like, I'm going to learn how to play this thing. And that thing sat in my apartment for 2 years, didn't even touch it, and then got rid of it.
My walls are literally covered in guitars, guitars that I don't play. They're just pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. Is there anything you've got coming up that you need to discuss?
I got fun stuff that I can't talk about yet.
Oh,
I will report. You'll be the first. I'll break the news on your podcast. How about that? When I can
think,
talk about it.
I think that'd be great. So
we'll do it. No, but I do have some fun stuff in the works, but also like I'm trying to, get a horror comedy feature off the ground. I did Cookie, so the next thing I want to do is I really want to start making some features. So that's kind of the next step, is I'm really, really trying to find somebody that wants to invest and help us make this thing.
That's awesome. So as far as advice, because there's a lot of people that are out there that aren't comfortable doing something, what's your biggest tip that you have
for
getting over hurdles, to get more self-confidence, to
I don't know, man.
Advice you have?
I'm gonna like answer this by telling a little quick story. So I don't know if you know this, but I used to be a professional wrestler before acting, which was a crazy world. But since I did that, and now that I'm doing acting, I have been invited to help at wrestling schools with like promo classes, which promos are like interviews and that kind of thing, and help with character development and that kind of thing. And, it's funny. I always, I can always see like, when somebody's kind of like nervous and not really in their own skin and that kind of thing. And I think, it's very cliche, but I think just putting reps in, doing things that terrify you, because it sounds very simple, but the more you do the things that scare you, the easier they will become. And I equate it to that wrestling class, because I could just see these kids that had never done improv, had never really practiced in front of the mirror doing promos. And it's like, it's that simple. You just have to, if you're wanting to be an actor or a wrestler or whatever, it's just, you got to take classes. You really got to put the work in. I always told these kids too, it's like, you spend so much time at the gym getting your body right. Your brain is a muscle too, that you have to, in whatever way, shape, or form, work out as well. You can't neglect it. And for acting or even wrestling, it helps to take acting classes and improv classes and make home movies or TikToks. I think making TikToks can even be helpful, because it teaches you how to make content in a very simplified form and work on your acting muscle,
basic editing skills,
whatever you want to do. I think just putting reps in is the best advice I can give you. And acting specifically, don't neglect acting classes and improv classes. I was terrified to take my first acting class for some reason, but it was one of those hurdles in the business when I was first starting early, that I had this mental block up that I was just terrified to take an acting class.
I think a lot of it is
fear of judgment.
Fear of judgment, fear of rejection. And what a lot of people don't realize is that, there's classes for a reason. It's for people that don't know what they're doing.
Exactly. And everybody there's trying to do the same thing. They're trying to get better. And we get in our heads a bit about what people think about us, but 99% of the time people are only thinking that about themselves. So, you can take that pressure off of yourself a bit. And to go back to my vocal condition a bit, like that's also why I had to open up about it, because I spent years in the business fearing what this condition what opportunity it would prevent for me, and that held me back a bit,
that reflects in Cookie also, in the storyline of Cookie, where it was like, oh, I've got a bit of a cold today, or
making excuses.
Yeah.
I did that for years. I was always just sick when people would bring it up. And, so I had to eventually get courage. You know, I mean, I'm a 30-year-old man, but it goes back to our childhood, man. It's stuff that's just embedded in us, in our DNA, these childhood fears and anxieties.
Well, I think everybody, whether you want to admit it or not, and it doesn't matter how politically correct everything gets and how everything is so broad now, I think everybody's had a traumatic childhood in one way or another.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be physical, but
no.
For me, it was just like, I was kind of the nerdy kid. I was kind of quiet. And, so I stayed like that for a really, really long time. So, something like doing this podcast really puts me in an uncomfortable spot, but it's getting easier. Like you said, it's through repetition and through doing it. And, at 44 years old, you can learn something new and you can get comfortable with it and have a good time. So I think, you hit the nail on the head. It's just a matter of one, it's a matter of doing it. And then two, it's really a matter of don't care about what other people say or do, because it will hold you back.
Definitely.
And ultimately, I think it does more mental damage. So,
oh, absolutely, man.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. So are you still good for a little bit or?
Yeah. Let's keep chatting, man. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Just a second. I'll edit that part out.
It's all good.
And then also let's hit a little bit on your clothing brand, because I'm wearing your merchandise.
Thank you.
And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The shirt isn't like a beefy tee. And I'm not dogging any brands, but it's not one of those scratchy cotton shirts. It's very
I hate those.
Silky.
It's comfortable.
Like, yeah, super comfortable. And I've got a few of them, and I've got a hat of yours. And
awesome, dude.
What made you want to start a clothing brand?
It was a pandemic project that I was just like, I needed, acting can be really inconsistent. So I'm trying to have to be very transparent, different avenues of revenue kind of coming in to help me out in different creative projects so I'm not strangling auditions when they come in. Like, I need you to work.
Yeah, really, this has to happen.
No. And so it's been a cool, nothing that requires, my full attention. I'm not sitting here saying that I want, this to be my main thing, but it's a really fun side project that allows me to be creative and make things that, I don't know. I just think it's so cool that if people that have been buying the stuff and enjoy it and wear it on a regular basis, that's just cool to me, man. Like I've obviously, I'm striving for it to have like this 90s kind of inspired feel, like almost like if it was just a clothing line out of the 90s.
Like it reminds me a lot of like the late 80s. So the late 80s, where it was like TNC Surf Designs and and then like early to like mid to late 90s.
Well, I'm wearing this shirt. This is a company that Gecko Hawaii, which when I was a kid, they were huge. They kind of disappeared for a second, but they just started back a year ago. And when I saw when they started back, I was like, oh my God, I bought everything. I bought all their shirts because I was just like, I had been searching for these for years and I couldn't remember the name of the company. I just remembered what they look like, how they made me feel. And like, these shirts just they send me back to my childhood. Like, I just love the colors and everything about them. And so like, that's kind of another thing that inspired me. And, so I'm just now starting with Donut Punk to pivot into a different, not a totally different direction, but like a little bit of a fork in the road with the Jurassic Park shirt was kind of like the first of the direction I want to take it. Like, I'm going to start making these shirts that are inspired by popular 90s, 80s properties. Obviously not jacking the
right
likeness completely, but like making it my own, a parody shirt in a sense. But so that's kind of the long-term vision, is to start making, maybe eventually Back to the Future or Ghostbusters or all kinds of fun stuff like that.
Well, there's so many things. Like, so I grew up in the 90s. Well, I graduated in 95. So I remember this part, this part of my, I guess it was childhood. If you're a teenager, you're still a child. So no, I remember like the bright colors, and like the 880s was the late 80s was like a lot of neon and, you know, big graphics, and so that's why I liked your apparel.
It's better times, Justin.
Yeah, man. Like I miss hypercolor.
I feel like it's coming back though. Honestly, like I feel like we're kind of getting back to like a lot of like Gen Z kids even are just like loving 90s
or becoming vintage.
Yeah, well it is kind of vintage, which is kind of sickening to think about, but I don't care, man. I'm a nostalgic
for this. We're too young to be vintage.
I'm a nostalgic buff, man. Like Nickelodeon in the 90s was what inspired me really to do everything in a sense. There were other things obviously, but like some of my best memories are just, you know, watching anything that was on Nickelodeon at the time. And there's a really good documentary that came out recently. Um it's called, I believe, The Orange Years. Let me double check, but it's on Hulu and I highly recommend it because it is like the best. It'll send you back in a time machine. Nickelodeon doc, Hulu, Orange Years on Hulu. It is definitely worth a watch. But yeah, man, like Nickelodeon, man, that was my childhood.
Yeah, Nickelodeon was a little bit different from my childhood because it was a lot of I think Double Dare and stuff like that was on Mark's. I know Mark Summers was never off the TV. It seems like he was always there.
He was Nickelodeon's spokesman in a sense.
He was just Nickelodeon. No, I miss the 80s and 90s. I like your clothes, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
That there's a lot of ways, you know, you can express yourself, and I think you're finding them. You
Thanks,
know,
man.
so this day and age, well, I said an old guy thing. This day and age,
it's all right, man. Say it.
It's always good to have your creative outlets. You know,
I have a couple. I have several of them.
Yeah. I mean, you're not very good at golf, and that's okay.
Virtual golf or real golf?
Virtual.
No, I'm pretty good.
Yeah,
but you pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that.
I had one off night, and that's what
it was real off.
All right, everybody, little context, you know, because you don't know what we're talking about, is another game that we play aside from Halo is virtual golf, and I kick ass at it, and I had one off night, and Justin's saying I'm not good now.
No. Right. It was real bad.
Okay.
But, you know, that's neither here nor there who the champion is and who isn't. I mean, that's fine. That's fine. We know who it is, and that's also fine.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
So, as far as social media goes, where can everybody find you?
Yeah. So Shane Hartline on, you know, search me. I'll pop up on social media. I'd also love to like talk about, I have a podcast too. It's a wrestling comedy podcast. Trying to get some listeners over there. It's the On Your Mark Wrestling Podcast. I play this backyard wrestling character, Marky Extreme, and we kind of deep dive into wrestling topics once a week. And it's fun, man. It's a really, even if you don't like wrestling, it is just a goofy podcast, a quick listen. So yeah, that one too.
You've interviewed it. Was it your pot? No, you were doing something else with wrestling where you've met like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and
it's through that brand. So we started as a YouTube channel called On Your Mark, just doing shoot interviews with wrestlers, like just sit down, like, or whatever kind of interviews that we could get. And you know, through the pandemic, it became increasingly difficult to meet with people. By increasingly difficult, it non-existent. So we tried doing virtual interviews, and that, you know, was also difficult. And we kind of have pivoted, and we're still going to make the interview videos for YouTube, but podcasting's easier, man. You know, like, so we're just, you know, there's a popular trend in wrestling podcasts right now where the hosts will deep dive into a wrestling topic, and we've kind of put a it's like a parody of that in a bit, because it's like our stupid characters giving their stupid perspective on wrestling. So it's fun, man. I enjoy doing it, and that character is a bit of a therapeutic outlet for me, because I get to just be this petulant child and just be a little shithead at times.
And I believe he's also like the backyard world champion.
Yeah, Marky Extreme is
Wrestling
the
world champion.
15 plus year undefeated backyard wrestling champion in his own company.
Nobody's ever contested him.
Nobody's ever been able to beat him.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's impressive. In his own,
That's an
in his
achievement.
own company. Yeah.
And I can tell you, I've actually listened to a few episodes of that
right on.
podcast. And I got out of wrestling. It was, I mean, Andre the Giant was still wrestling, and like the Bushwhackers and Legion of Doom, and so it was nice to it was nice to listen to your podcast, because I kind of got more of an insight, like what's actually going on, and then you went to the Royal Rumble this year, I think.
WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. And then you were talking about it. So I've been diving a little bit deeper into wrestling lately, because I kind of miss it. And
it's
I know
fun, man.
Where you're from, like wrestling is big.
Florida was, big. That's where I got my start in wrestling. But, if you wanted, I would say give wrestling a shot again, and go in with it just like the same way you would watch an Avengers movie. Don't go into it being like, oh, this is so fake, I can see through all the stuff. Like, watch it like you'd watch a movie. WWE is, hit or miss with how good they are lately, in my opinion. But if you want to start watching something good, AEW is on Wednesdays on TNT. I'm in no way associated with them, but they're a new company, and I want to like get the word out there about them, because they're making just such good television. Because you have a mix of kind of everything with AEW. You have like crazy acrobatic, high flying wrestling that it's insane, the things that these guys can do. And then you have really good storytelling. It's a lot less scripted than the WWE, so the wrestlers can be more of themselves. And then you got a lot of guys from the past, like Sting and Christian and some of
awesome.
Chris Jericho. Like you got a mix of kind of everything in AEW. So yeah, give it a try, man. Especially, I would say this, I don't know when this is coming out, but this Wednesday, they've got like a TV special called Blood and Guts, which is going to be a good one. Like a double cage match or some craziness. But yeah, man, wrestling's great. I think that anybody that, immediately goes to the critique of, oh, you watch that, it's fake. Like, I always reply with, oh, you watch Avengers, it's fake. Like, get over yourselves. Like, it's such an old, stupid thing to say that at this point.
I've had the privilege of meeting a few wrestlers. I've met Hacksaw. I had him sign a piece of wood for my wife. She wasn't feeling well that day. And that man's hands, like I don't have small hands. He dwarfed my hand.
Big dude.
It was insane.
He's from the era, though, man, of like the wrestlers were giants. Every one of them were big.
I met Andre the Giant.
No way.
And I was living in Las Vegas. And one of my classmates said, my uncle's over, would you like to meet him? I'm like, yeah, okay. So I think that was like fifth or sixth grade.
Crap.
And I went over, and it was Andre the Giant.
His uncle was Andre?
Yeah, her uncle,
wow.
Her uncle was Andre, and I got a shoulder ride from him, so that was awesome. So
what a story.
Little me just like 8 feet up in the air, terrified.
For real.
But it was awesome. And then my other encounter with any wrestler was we were working. Sometimes in the Army, you got tasked out to do weird tasks. So we were at the World Arena in Colorado, and we were selling beer. So we were in uniform selling beer. So needless to say, I got to meet I think it was Jim McMahon, and it was
Vince McMahon.
Yeah, Vince McMahon, Triple H, and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Wow.
It was a really cool experience. And from what I can tell, everybody put, like, when you're an actor, you put on a character, and you you put yourself out there as this type of person. And so I was mildly intimidated to meet some of these people. And then you just get them talking, you're like, oh, they're real people. They just, they do the same thing I do, and they're decent, and they're smart, and they're intelligent, and they can hold a conversation, and they're not gonna throw me across a room or anything, or crack a beer on my head.
No, I mean, wrestlers are great, man. Of course there are some that are nutcases, but name me one other type of entertainer that can go out there with a script memorized and choreography memorized and do it all in one take, live on television, and not kill the other person. It's surreal.
I couldn't do it. I'd have gone overboard somewhere, and
that's kind of why I quit, because I enjoyed a bit more of the entertainment side than the physical. And I was just like, it was also, I quit around the time I quit full time. I still do stuff occasionally, but I quit around the time YouTube happened, and I was like, this is what I want to be doing. Like, so I went full force into it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's kind of like podcasting. You hopefully just kind of get everything and don't sound ridiculous. But Shane, I'm gonna wrap this up for you. I know you've got some other engagements.
It's all good.
Everybody, if you don't know who this is, follow Shane Hartline on TikTok. It's at Shane Hartline. You can follow him on Instagram at Shane Hartline. You can
Shane _Hartline, but just search
Shane _Hartline. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm gonna put this back up here because Donut Punk pretty it's pretty important to you. I really like the brand. You've done a great job with it. I wear my mask out in public, and they recognize me because it's the only mask that says Donut Punk on it. You're the Donut Punk guy. I'm like, sort of. I wear the mask.
I'm a Donut Punk guy.
I'm a Donut Punk guy. Yeah, every day is cheat day.
Yeah.
All right. So coming up for the rest of the week, today is Shane. On Wednesday, we've got JW.
Yes.
On the podcast. And
everybody needs to listen to him, because he is America's sweetheart. Like, he is going to be, if he keeps just being JW, he's going to be mega famous.
So I'm just going to kind of frame this real quick. JW is the sweetest young man. I think he's like 17.
I think so.
17 years old. Just the sweetest, kindest person.
Has a podcast, and just not to knock you, but takes his podcast actually very seriously.
Yeah, no, he's doing great things. And tomorrow is going to be the introduction of my son Jacob.
Oh wow, Jacob's doing it.
We're gonna try.
Are you doing one of these every day?
This week, yeah. So
that's great.
On May 6th, I've got Isaac Page.
Nice.
And this is going into next week, but I've got a gentleman and a musician by the name of Professor Elemental.
Oh, cool. I've heard of that.
If you look him up, he's got 12 albums out. He is British. He's extremely British. And he cosplays as Professor Elemental and has many chap hop albums. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So I've got a lot of stuff coming up. And on May 12th, our buddy Adam Wiley.
Oh, great.
We finally nailed a date down. I can't believe it.
Can you really, really hammer into him, if he doesn't listen to this, that I was a guest before him? Or has he already done it?
But no. The running joke is that you were going to come in and just leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're going to nail that into Adam.
Great. I will too.
If you're on tonight, we're just going to be like, yeah, so, he's better than me. So that's how that goes.
He did the podcast before you. Just want to let you know that.
So everybody, I appreciate you coming in and listening. I got nothing else to say. I think we covered all.
Man, we covered everything that needs to be covered. Great interview. Best interview.
When there's new stuff that comes out, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm always here for you, buddy.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.